Right, here we are again. Right, it's brew day. So what I'm brewing up today is a California Common. This particular beer has been on my to brew list for a very long time and I've never got round to brewing it for some reason. So I've just invested in a new Brewzilla. So I wanted to, this is going to be the first brew on it, and I wanted something that was going to be fairly easy to brew, didn't have a kind of whirlpool or hop stand, just wanted a standard decent beer, and this fitted the bill perfectly. So yeah, it's one of those beers that seems to have maybe fallen out of fashion a little bit. The most famous example of this, I guess, is Anchor Steam Beer, and that sort of seemed to go under fairly recently. They closed the factory. There seems to be some kind of new investment in it, but essentially it went under, and now presumably it went under because nobody was buying that beer, or sales were low enough to make them reconsider. So I'm assuming that's because there's a big trend for like hazy IPAs and, you know, the big hopped beers and those that are more popular nowadays. But you know, that's the brilliant thing about home brewing, is that we don't really care about fashion or fads. We can brew whatever we like. So today I'm brewing exactly that, what I want to brew, and that is California Common. Now, I'm going to be using a recipe from James Morton's book, Brew. I really like this book. If there's any of you guys out there that just enjoy books like I do, then I highly recommend it if you haven't got it. His recipe is, I think they're all 20 litres. I've had to make some minor adjustments, but I'll give you kind of a little bit of spiel from his introduction to this. It says California Common is a hybrid, somewhere between an ale and a lager. So if you like lagers, you're going to want to make this beer. It's like an amber lager with an ale yeast. So I think the yeast was originally isolated from Anchor Brewery in San Francisco. And he recommends that you use that, which is the WLP 810 or Y yeast 2112. So obviously I think they're both liquid ones. I'm actually going to be using the Mangrove Jack's dry lager yeast, which is the N54. I'm hoping it's the same thing. Unique lager yeast that has the ability to ferment at ale temperatures, blah blah blah, suitable for California Common and any lager fermented at ale temperatures. So that's what I'm going to be using. His recipe actually uses Hallertau Mittelfrühe. So the reason he says here is, but he likes the subtle flora of plentiful Hallertau. Just works so well and transcends the original style. But as I hadn't actually brewed this before, I wanted to go with the hop that was kind of most commonly associated or is typical of this style, and that's Northern Brewer. So I think this was originally British hop that is now now grown in Germany. Not entirely sure of the link between this and San Francisco. Maybe they grew it out there but no longer do. Not really too sure why this hop became kind of the typical hop for this style, but that's what I'm going to be using. I've got 100 grams of Northern Brewer. So I've had to adjust his recipe. He does say if you want to swap out the hops for the more traditional Northern Brewer, you know, feel free. So I've had to adjust the recipe. Hallertau Mittelfrühe is 4% AA. This is 6%. So I'll go through that in more detail as I go. But yeah, so Northern Brewer my hops, N54 my yeast. The grain bill is pale malt. He uses Marisotta. I've just happened to be using Crisp Best Ale Malt, which has an EBC of 5.5. So it's probably going to give me a little bit more of an amber colour in my finished beer. I've got crystal malt, so I'm using Simpson's light crystal malt, EBC 100, and I've got 220 grams of that. Incidentally, mine is a 21 litre batch because I want to finish up with 19 litres in my keg, thereabouts. So this is for my 21 litre batch. So I've got 4 kilos of crisp Best Ale. I've got 220 grams of Simpson's light crystal malt, and I've got 180 grams of crisp amber malt. which is EBC 50. So that's going to give me a nice kind of biscuity edge to this as well. So nice amber biscuity base. Oh, sounds delicious already. I'm really looking forward to this. So hops wise, as I've said, Northern Brewer now. He uses a first wort hop with the Hallertau Mittelfrüh, but that was going to kind of maybe tip me over the ledge a little bit in terms of IBUs, and I've never done first wort hops before, so I'm playing it safe and going with a 60-minute hop addition. I can't remember the exact grams for my hop additions. I'll post them up on the video, hopefully down here somewhere, or at the end anyway. So I'm having a 60-minute hop addition, I'm having a 15-minute hop addition, and then I'm having a flame out hop addition. So I'll leave that to steep for 5 or 10 minutes, cool it down, get it into the fermenter with my yeast, and that is it really. So additional ingredients, a boiled flock tablet at 15 minutes presumably. Yeah, so hopefully it's going to be a straightforward brew. That is the idea. As I say, this is going to be my first brew on my Brewzilla. So yeah, there's going to be some instruction reading going on before I do that. Make sure I get everything sorted. It's already a good clean, so it's ready to go. And hopefully it's going to make my life a bit easier, because I've been doing brew in a bag type stuff, and yeah, I guess it's going to make my life a bit easier. It's all Wi-Fi and there's all bit, you know, there's a lot of technical stuff on there, but yeah, I'll work that out as I go. Right, and this is going to go in my all-rounder. So I'm going to pressure ferment this at sort of 20-22 degrees. So hopefully this yeast is going to give me a nice clean result at the end. And yeah, oh, what else did I say? I'm going to be using RO water for this, and I'll probably try and condition it maybe for 4 weeks before I sample it. Hopefully I'm going to have a nice beer at the end of it. So I shall get some brew footage of my new system if I can, and I'll see you at the end for the tasting. Here it is. So, for the astute among you and people that have seen other videos of mine before, I realise that I'm not sitting on my red sofa for this review. This is actually my new brew house, come shed, come art studio for my daughter. So yeah, log cabin put in at the end of my garden, which is I've got my fridges and all my brewing equipment, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so going forward, I think probably I'll be doing my reviews from here and the introductions and stuff. You know, I might even drag out the old red sofa, who knows, but so I hope you're not missing the red sofa too much anyway. So this is the California Common that I brewed. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, this was the maiden voyage on my new Brewzilla, which is sitting over there at the moment. So yeah, previously used brew in the bag method, no sparge, full volume brew in a bag type thing, and yeah, it was quite different. Things happened a lot faster than I was used to. I'm kind of using brew in a bag, so I was caught out by a couple of things, and yeah, it didn't quite finish up how I intended. So long story short was that I ended up using a lot more Sparge Water than was required, due to the fact that I stuck the sight glass sticker in the wrong place. So where I thought was, I don't know, whatever it was, pre-boil volume of 25, 27 litres or something, it was actually about 2 or 3, or showing 2 or 3 litres short, probably a bit more than that actually. So yeah, as I said, things were happening pretty quickly. I couldn't quite get the temperature for the mash right. I didn't realise you had to knock the power down for mashing on the elements. So yeah, so I think this ended up, my OG was 1042 rather than 1050, so I missed my numbers by some country mile, I would say. So yeah, the actual finished beer was, I think, 4.2 instead of about 5%, how it should have turned out. I was worried that that sort of lack, or the lower ABV might have a detrimental effect on the bitterness. So I didn't know if it was going to have an effect on the BU-GU type ratio and make it too bitter. So yeah, it's obviously lower alcohol, but it's actually, I mean, looks wise, cracking looking beer. I'm pretty pleased with how it looks. You see, it's well carbonated in the glass. Hopefully you can see that. Fairly clear, slight, very, very slight haze on it, but I think that's where I've been kind of messing around with my kegs. I've stirred things up in the last couple of days, so yeah, it was pouring pretty clear. Yeah, lovely head on it, cracking head, in fact. Good one finger holding there at the top. This is a nucleated glass, but you know, this is a lagery type drink, so a lagery type glass is what I've got here. Yeah, pretty well carbonated, cracking looking, I have to say, and nice head. So that's looks wise. Now, what does it smell like? You can definitely smell the malt, and that the amber malt actually in here is giving it a lovely aroma, malt wise. And yeah, the hops are kind of like spicy and woody is how I describe the hops. Yeah, pretty pleased with the aroma. Let's dive in, let's have a taste. Yeah, so really nice. I have to say, I mean, the bitterness is a little bit more than I would probably have liked, but obviously that was for the reasons I've just explained. But it's not kind of offensively bitter. Yeah, it hasn't spoilt it, put it that way. There's a lovely malt character coming from it. It's quite light in body, I would say, but it's got a really nice malty backbone to it. The amber malt, I think, was a really good addition to this, so fair play to James Morton's recipe. With the addition of the amber malt, it's giving it a nice sort of kind of biscuity edge as well, which is very, very pleasing. Yeah, and hops wise, it's not overwhelmingly hoppy, but it's definitely a little bit kind of floral, woody, and spicy as well. But yeah, I mean, it's quite a well balanced beer considering I messed it up and it's more bitter than it should be. It still feels quite a well balanced beer, and it's really nice, kind of drinkable 4.2 or whatever it ended up. It's quite a nice sort of sitting out in the garden sunshine drink. Not that we've had too much sunshine recently, but it's a nice quaffable, easy drinking beer is how I describe it. And I think I'll have another go at it. And I think if I do it next time, I'll probably follow James Morton's advice in his book and use the Hallertau Mittelfrühe instead of the Northern Brewer. But you know, I wanted to kind of brew it to style first of all, and I'm glad I did, because yeah, it's giving it a kind of a benchmark. I know what to expect for next time. So yeah, really nice, and pleased with that. Not bad for my first attempts on the Brewzilla. I have had probably 3 brews on it now, so I learned quite a lot from this one, and the previous 2 have been a bit more successful, to say the least. So it was a good beer to trial the system on, and yeah, it's turned out a good beer. You know, don't be afraid of making mistakes and all that kind of stuff. As long as your gear's all sterile, then you're going to end up with something that's drinkable and pretty tasty, I have to say. So yeah, pleased with that. I'm going to chalk it up as a success, even though we had some teething problems. Yeah, cheers everyone.